Things to do in London. London is one of those cities that is constantly changing with new and exciting things sprouting up almost every day. This is all well and good, but it sure can make a visit to our capital city pretty hectic, especially if you're trying to plan, book and see all the things you want in a short period of time. This is exactly why I wanted to share some interesting facts about London for your visit. Below, I've included a whole heap of interesting facts about London for any new visitor to our amazing city. Take a look at some of the interesting facts about London for your visit. Have a great trip! Yeah, there's no denying it, London is huge! With millions of people, the city and metropolitan area are ginormous, to say the least. If you've only got a few short days in the city, try to stay in the best areas in London that you want to explore, or at least close by. This will save you a whole load of time traveling across the city every day, especially as traveling in London can add up to several hours per day in transport time. 2. Get an Oyster card. An Oyster card, for transport in London, will save you time and money when it comes to those pesky travel-related costs. Grab an Oyster card, which is free, with a small refundable deposit, from most tube stations, and preload a given amount onto the card. When using an Oyster card, your journey has a maximum daily cap that you can spend in one day. This means that after doing 3 or 4 journeys, the rest of the day's travel will be totally free around the whole of London. It's one of those interesting facts about London you wouldn't really consider without knowing. 3. Walk between tube stops. Speaking of travel, there are quite a few stations where it's actually quicker to walk rather than take the tube/bus. Case in point being Leicester Square to Covent Garden, the walk will take less than 3 minutes, which is quicker than going underground on the tube and won't cost you a dime. It's easily one of those interesting facts about London that most people don't think about when visiting. 4. Fly into low-cost airports. If you're looking to keep costs low, then there are a few interesting facts about London you need to consider. You see, when it comes to getting yourself to London, you can grab a low-cost flight to one of the more regional London airports. These airports tend to prioritize the cheaper landing fees, with airports like London Luton, London Stansted and London Southend all being cheaper than places like Heathrow or London City. That being said, there is a downside, too. Stansted is around 45 minutes by train or 1 hour by bus to the city centre. 5. Pret gives out free coffee. Yup, that's right, it's one of those interesting facts about London you wouldn't even know until it happens to you. At the discretion of the barista inside Pret, you might be one of the lucky chosen people to receive your coffee for free. Though if you're looking for a more independent spot, then head towards one of these gorgeous coffee shops, my favorites are here. 6. Museums are free. This is one of my favorite things about our city and one of the interesting facts about London you might not know if you're visiting a country that charges for museums. Museums like, the Natural History Museum, the Science Museum, the British Museum, the National Portrait Gallery and the Tate Modern. Plus, much more are free, too. Spend a day wandering through the many historical artifacts and enjoy the rich heritage the city has to offer. Obviously, donations are welcome, though in no way obligatory at all. 7. West End shows aren't always expensive. If you want to grab one of the best shows in the West End and you're not too fussy on what you see, then head straight across to the official TKTS booth smack bang in the center of Leicester Square. TKTS sells all remaining unsold tickets for shows on the day, which is usually heavily discounted. You will always be given the best seats available and you can even choose from the available seats. It's one of those interesting facts about London that you'll love if you're into the theatre. 8. Move to London easily. Okay, so first off, this is one of the interesting facts about London that'll be only interesting if you're planning to relocate here. Firstly, let us not beat around the bush. Rental costs are very high in the city, but that doesn't mean you should compromise or be coerced into making decisions on where you're going to live based on what estate agents and other housing bodies tell you to do. There are so many really easy tips and tricks to save money, along with essential red lights you should look out for, hence why I've included a link to our essential renting tips for when you're looking for a flat/house/mansion/luxury yacht in London right here. 9. Grab discounted rail and tube fares. If you're under the grand young age of 26, or a student, over the age of 60, as a couple, or perhaps traveling with your family, then you'll be eligible to pick up a rail card from any train station. Costing approximately £30 for 1 year, this card will give you 33%, 1/3, discount off rail travel and tube travel at off-peak times, a massive saving if you're visiting the city multiple times. It's easy to use and one of the interesting facts about London that'll keep your transport costs lower. 10. You can visit Big Ben for free. Big Ben is the bell inside the Queen Elizabeth II Tower that chimes across London. Attached to the Houses of Parliament, it's only accessible by invitation. One of the easiest ways to grab yourself an invitation, if you live in the UK, is to ask your local MP for an invite. Find out who your local MP is here. They will put your name forward and will issue you some free tickets for a tour. It's a unique perspective that most people will never have seen. That being said, Big Ben is currently undergoing a huge renovation, and is full of scaffolding, so visits are on hold. 11. Tipping isn't essential. Tipping isn't as big a deal as it is in the United States or other countries, but that doesn't mean it isn't appreciated. Usually, a small 10 to 15% tip is more than fine for a restaurant, whilst there is no need to tip at any bar or for drinks. There's also no need to tip when hailing a cab, though it often makes sense to round up the amount to the nearest pound. It's one of the interesting facts about London that might seem quite strange if you're used to a culture of tipping. Though, you might find that some of the best restaurants in London do add an optional service charge of about 12.5% to bills. 12. Tour London cheaply. Okay, so there are lots of those hop-on hop-off buses that drive all across the city but often charge a pretty high price tag for the convenience, great if you're in a rush but not so great for your wallet. Though, if you're visiting London on a tighter shoestring and want to save money, there are a few interesting facts about London that'll save you a pretty penny. For instance, if you want to save a great deal off that price, then jump on board a Red London bus. One of my favorite journey to take is on the 24-hour bus number 453 from Marylebone Station. Hop on and grab yourself a seat upstairs. You'll pass Regent Street, Piccadilly Circus, Leicester Square, Downing Street, Houses of Parliament, Big Ben and the London Eye, where you can hop off and experience London's South Bank by foot, before it heads further south. 13. You can get good fish and chips here. This old British favorite can sometimes be a little tricky to find in central London, but there are a few yummy spots to easily find. Thankfully, Poppy's in Shoreditch has one of the best I've tasted in the capital and is of astoundingly great quality, so much so that I'm starting to blame them for my extra weight gain. Meals are cooked fresh with lashings of salt and vinegar. I've no doubt you'll make lots of friends and meet loads of new people that will have a good old natter with you at almost any London bar, so don't let anything stop you from making new friends when you're in London town. I hope this makes your day.